Hello and welcome back to this instalment of GBN America with me, Patrick Christys. Now, this is actually one of my favourite topics, believe it or not, mysterious things in the skies. I find it absolutely fascinating, all of this stuff. And this is the latest instalment of it, I'm afraid. And what an instalment it is. Here to talk us about the mysterious drones in the sky is Jeffrey R. Wells, a Cyber and Technology Centre Fellow at the National Security Institute. He's had a very distinguished career spanning more than 35 years. He's got expertise in navigating the intricate landscape of technology, especially in the context of this ever-evolving geopolitical tensions. You name it, this guy's across it. So thank you very much, Jeffrey. Great to have you on the show. What are these things in the sky then?
Well, there are many things that we've discovered in the sky over New Jersey and parts of the United States in the last 2 weeks, several of which turn out to be drones. There are also planets. There are aircraft. There are helicopters. There's a lot of things that are in the sky that people are starting to notice. I think some of this is that phenomenon around a well-documented tendency of human psychology to perceive what they see or fear rather than what's objectively present. Yes, this did start with a series of drones. I think that there are additional drones that have shown up, but I think that as we've seen in many of the analysis of the photos, there are legitimate aerial aircraft, commercial aircraft, drones that are operated by utility companies, and hobbyist drones that are up there because they're looking for other drones right now.
Okay, there has been a lot of confusion about this, and I think a lack of clarity from the current government has been a bit silly, really. If they do indeed know if they actually know what it is. This is the thing, isn't it? The latest I've heard after days now of this stuff is that basically, don't worry, we don't think it's a threat. Well, is it your own aircraft then? Is it your own technology or not? What's going on there in terms of the messaging?
Yeah, I think you hit it. Yeah, you hit it on the head. The U.S. government's response to this has been woefully inadequate and remarkably slow. It took them until yesterday to release a joint statement that said, "Don't worry, these are aircraft and these are there are drones. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here." And I'd say perhaps 50 years ago that might have worked. But in today's age where everyone has a camera, everyone has access to social media, and distrust in the communication that governments and puts out, the amount of information they put out is again woefully inadequate. Just saying there's nothing to see here, we know what it is not enough. And I think
have they actually said they know what it is? Sorry, Jeffrey, just to cut across that, because for a while they didn't say they knew what it was. So now have they gone, we know what it is?
Yeah, they're saying we know what it is and there's no threat. But that's not enough clarity to really comfort the average citizen. In the unique thing that I think most Americans don't understand here in the United States, and I think in many other places, but in the United States, the entire airspace over the United States is controlled by the FAA, U.S. government. It's not controlled by states. It's not controlled by local jurisdictions. And so, usually when you go to your local state representative or your, local state government or your township, they're the ones who you tend to trust to give you information, and they don't have the right information to even share with their citizenry. And so there are a lot of things in the sky. There's a lot of concern about what's in the sky, but the guidance that's being given is a one-pager that is shared on a website, and then a briefing to members of Congress, which I think, it was a secret meeting. People came out and said, I don't feel like I got enough information.
Well, no, but it also does come off the back of something else I was very interested in, which was a whole big deal at Congress about UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them now.
Yep.
And there were some elements of that I thought were remarkable, and I thought was incredible that there wasn't a bigger deal made out of, where some people who claim to have worked within government organisations, etc., some of them made astonishing claims. They said that we had recovered alien craft. They said that we had recovered non-human technology. They said that we've been trying to reverse engineer this stuff. I mean, the implications there are vast. And then you've got this. So what do you think the chances are that this is some kind of non-human technology, or that something's going on that we're being prepared for?
Yeah, I think I think it's personally, I think it's silly to believe that we're the only creatures in the universe, and we don't have enough clarity again on from the U.S. government, and I think just globally on what has been seen and discovered over the last 50, 60 years operating in airspace. And as you said, people have told stories, astronauts, people with very strong backgrounds
people.
say, I'm seeing things, I just don't know what they are. And some of this may be secret test equipment from the past, but this increase of sighting, this new openness to begin to discuss it, but not enough to really show truly what's in the book. It's kind of like, here's what's on the book sleeve, but we're not going to give you where we're getting all the information. That I think raises some additional questions, and the way that it's presented makes anyone say that's talking about it, myself included, that I'm a little wonky to kind of talk about it. And I think there's something that's happening. These are drones, right? There's something in the sky. They're either commercial, they're either government, or they're a foreign adversary, or they're something else, UAPs. And this is certainly going to get worse next week. After the holidays here in the United States, on Christmas Day, a bunch of people are going to be getting drones. And they're going to be sending these things up, I think for 3 days at least. Everybody's going to be flying them, though, I think on Christmas Day, and they're going to be looking for things, and people are going to see them and say, my God, the sky is now full of drones. And that's just going to add to the problem of what's up there.
Yeah. Probably, you're right. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. People getting all these things.
I think it's going to be massive next week, and people are just going to be freaking out.
You know what amazes me? When we have had proper people go on record and say, what previously might have been reserved for, I call them the tinfoil hat brigade. Those people who are a bit kooky, a bit out there, a bit conspiracy theorists, but they're just reasonable people. They've been flying some of your fighter jets over the oceans, and they've given. Well, we can actually see some of that. We've seen videos of some of that stuff, so we all know that this is happening. We just don't know necessarily what it is. But the American public tolerated the idea that there could be non-human intelligence that's visited Earth, because there wasn't a civil war over this information. What I don't think they can tolerate is an information vacuum about things that now ordinary people can continue to see. And I wonder what your feeling is on this. Is it actually doing more damage trying to hide things from us than it would be to tell us?
There's always a delicate balance of national security interests. But I think that there still is a way to be far more transparent in today's modern age. And I'd say that the increase of open source intelligence that's being used legitimately globally to find out information moves a lot faster than traditional intelligence sources. And so with this rise of immediate access to information, I can log on to my phone right now and say, I want 50 pictures from 15 minutes ago from a satellite of my house, and I can get those. I think in this modern age where I can get information that I want, the American public is kind of used to saying, like, give us some more. You can't just say, don't worry, and there's no threat here. That's not enough.
Jeffrey, what's the significance of the site or the area that they've been seen over these drones, this particular bit of New Jersey?
Yeah, there's some sensitive government facilities, not necessarily top secret facilities, but they do have a national security interest, and that nobody that and none of my sources, as well as any of the research I've done, has said they've actually seen them over this restricted airspace. They've operated kind of near them. One is an energy facility, nuclear facility, but no one's able to say, like, we saw it in restricted airspace. And I think that is kind of the challenge too. Is what is, things that operate in restricted airspace, the U.S. government tends to know. And one of the things that we have in this country for the last couple of years around drones is all of them have a transponder. So the FAA kind of knows that they're there. If they're legitimate, if this is something people have bought, it's easy to turn that off. But I think there's a greater concern here that we're missing is that national policy and domestic, state and local policy doesn't align. And as I've seen in Ukraine, drones can be used rather deadly. And the fact that we're relying on a federal government to kind of monitor airspace and control it, and we just have some really outdated laws that manage that it's a federal offense to shoot down a drone. It's a federal offense to shoot down anything that's in the air.
That's interesting because Trump said shoot them down. Trump said shoot them down.
I mean, I guess he could pardon somebody that does that, but the concern with shooting them down is it requires incredible skill to shoot something out of the sky. I'm sure you've seen the videos from Ukraine. I've seen them, worked with that, and it's incredibly difficult to shoot those down. But if if I walk out in my backyard and take a shot at something, what I shoot up does come down. And it may not be the drone, but that's going to come down somewhere else. And so we have maybe some stray bullets, some unique things. But let's just say someone does take one down. It doesn't mean it's going to fall into a safe area. It could land into a crowded speedway. It could hit power lines. It could cause a bunch of damage. So these are, I think, things that we need to consider and certainly have a national discussion about. What are we going to do about airspace now that it is far more crowded than before, but also, can we give some better coordination and resilience to local and state governments to deal with this? I thought it was interesting, in New York City, they don't know what's in the sky at any given time, but during New Year's, the federal government's there to kind of protect Times Square. The rest of the time, they're on their own.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean,
that's a problem.
Heard numerous different reports, at times conflicting reports anyway, about how these things don't seem to be able to be picked up by radar, about how it's very difficult to detect them in certain cases. In that case, what do you think the chances are that these are actually Russian or Chinese? Do you think there's a chance that there is, and the US government is saying that we know what they are, they're not a threat, i.e. they've rumbled the fact that another country is trying it on as a show of force, like look what we can get into your airspace, look what we can keep near your sensitive sites for a period of time. We're not actually going to do anything, but we're just showing you what we can do.
It's certainly, I think far more likely it's, if it is, it's the Chinese who, because nothing has really been done. It's kind of demonstrating that we can operate in the area, much like the balloons of years ago. And it's kind of to say, look, we can get away with this in your airspace. Also to see how much they can get away with, what our reaction is going to be. And, there may be a strategy here that says, let's downplay this in case it's our adversaries so that they don't think we overreact. And I think, public, time and time again throughout history, it's shown that, if governments tell the public kind of, what they need to know, the majority of the truth, there's, a better informed public is a better, a safer world and a safer country.
I actually think, especially coming off the back of the coronavirus crisis, which was
we could have learned lessons there,
which was a crazy time, and was in many ways. I mean, I get that the coronavirus is a thing, right? I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but in many ways, it was also a psychological experiment, I think, on people about lockdowns and about things like that. That was, we tolerated a lot that certainly in my lifetime I'd never seen before, and it was interesting to see how humanity responded to that kind of thing. So the idea that we wouldn't be able to tolerate knowing a bit more about what these drones are, maybe who they are, maybe where they've come from, especially if they might not have necessarily come from Earth, I think we'd be okay with that. I don't think that you'd start to see people going absolutely mental on the streets. I think we'd probably be all right. And just on that, Jeffrey, sorry to...
I think they would. I really do. I think they would. Yeah. I think, as that governments historically have been very patronistic, even in democracies. And I think we need to give the citizenry some credit here to say we can give you some more truth. As you said, the coronavirus was a wonderful example of, if we give people more information, they're not going to, we slow rolled it and there was a blowback. If here there was a delay, there's been blowback. Let's just, and I think even now, if they came forward and were far more transparent, the trust has already kind of been eroded. That, anything you say now is just a cover up. It's too late. From the beginning, they should have said, hey, this is what it is.
And look, Trump's coming in January 20th. So let's see whether or not these things are still in the sky. He's taken a pretty direct approach to them so far. We mentioned about shooting them down. Just in terms of global security, and all the different knock-on implications that this could be about, whether it's to do with national security, whether it's to do with things from outer space, or however you want to phrase it. Trump's in soon. Do you think he's going to take a more front-footed, open approach to disclosing about all sorts of things, whether it is extraterrestrial activity, whether it is to do with national security? What do you think?
I think that we should expect that he is going to be he's going to lean into this far more than any administration has previously. I think especially his followers on social media are calling for this. He's kind of already shown his cards that he doesn't, let's take these things down and find out what they are. And I think he's going to use the power of the executive office to share information, and I think through non-traditional means, and what he says will be taken a bit as gospel. And I think that, a lot of the shadows that we've had in the past, which may be for good reason or bad, is that, he may overshare. That's fine too. I think that the American public can deal with it, and we'll have to address our adversaries. And I think the West in general should be doing this.
Yeah, and I do think it comes amid a basket of other things that are taking place. I mean, look, I'm not again trying to go down any kind of rabbit holes, but one of the biggest hits on Netflix in the last couple of years has been Ancient Apocalypse, Graham Hancock's, and what that ultimately does is question our entire notion of human history, but our timeline on human history, at least opening the door that maybe there are things we still have to learn about the length of time that there has been intelligent life on Earth. Well, just posing that question, right? And you also have people like Joe Rogan who are doing podcasts on this kind of stuff. Similar. So again, people are starting to think like that. I don't think that people care too much about it. But it is a dangerous time, Jeffrey. Anyway, and I think that we're going to see anyway in the coming years a lot more of this stuff. Go on.
And I think it's we're talking about it here. People may think I'm crazy, but it's reaching a more mainstream conversation, and it's not the ancient aliens, crazy hair.
Yeah.
I wish I had the hair, but it's reaching the mainstream, and people want to take this seriously and get to the bottom of whatever it might be. Yeah. Whatever that there have been a lot of secrets for too long, and science and technology has reached a point where I don't think humanity is going to say we kind of trust we trust to keep things in the shadows.
Yeah, exactly. Jeffrey, look, thank you very much. In case you couldn't tell,
I appreciate this. Yeah,
I could talk about this all day, right? I love it. And,
yeah, I could too, as you can see.
Yeah, great. Well, let's do it again.
All right, roger that, yeah.
Jeffrey, thank you very much. And thank you as well for making time for us on your daughter's birthday. You're an absolute trooper for doing that.
Of course.
So much appreciated.
Thank
Love
you.
to the family, and have a very happy Christmas. As Jeffrey R. Wells.